Is premature ejaculations is pretty common condition when the man ejaculates quickly long before the wife reaches her own orgasm. If it is a chronic something or something that's lasting, we need to seek help. Don't leave it like that. Sometimes I see people living most of their life with that, and then after 30 years, the wife starts to feel very depressed, very angry, unfairly treated, etc. Why should you wait for a long time? And these days it's easier than before to be treated. For ladies, gratification can be interrupted if there was a history of trauma, things happened to her, like vaginismus, for example. Vaginismus is about the spasm or the contraction of the vaginal muscle that won't allow the penis of the man to go through and continue and complete this sexual intercourse stage. It's very painful for her. That pain or that kind of blockage, it's subconscious. It doesn't happen willingful. With using her own will. No, it's because of something in subconscious. It's about fear, deep subconscious fear from exposure to sexual trauma or any other trauma. We may discuss that later on. Okay, but these things, these concerns should be addressed. Anorgasmia is when the male gender, the man, does not reach orgasm natural way. I see that in a growing numbers, because gentlemen who stay long before marriage and got used to masturbation, and the ejaculation doesn't happen quickly. It takes much longer time than usual. And that's why I always recommend that before you get married, before your wedding, please try to abstain from any sexual activity for some time, so that you can regain your sexual health completely. Try as much as you can. Honeymoon. What about honeymoon? Honeymoon period is about exploration, about a stress test, and about what? Memories. Exploration. Honeymoon should be done only for both of you. You shall not, this is the 11th commandment, you shall not invite your parents or your in-laws to join you on your honeymoon. You don't have even to tell them why you are going to spend your honeymoon. Okay? This is your private time. This is the time when you need to explore something good. Even if you had been sexually active before marriage, honeymoon is a different experience. You're not building up your sexuality with your spouse. No, not only that. You are deepening your love to each other. You're spending time together alone. No phone calls, no texting, no computer, no internet. Just the two of you, just sitting, talking, embracing each other, telling each other how you loved each other, how you enjoyed being married, praying with each other thankfully to God who joined you together. It's very important. And I recommend that before you go to bed the first time, you stand and give thanks to the Lord and ask for His blessings. It's very important. Then it's a test of stress. Yeah, something new. Okay, especially with virgins. This can be a little bit stressful. Take it easy on each other. You don't have to complete your sexual intercourse from day 1 or day 2 or day 3. Sometimes it takes few days, no problem. Sometimes you will find it hard to respond to arousal. That's still good, still normal. And then at the same time, just relax. That's why we know we need to go to some beaches, resorts far away from everybody. And again, don't answer your phone, please. Memories. Take pictures, take videos, take notes of every day. What did you do? Today we're going to go to the zoo together. We're going to have dinner together, spend time together, etc. Make memories. You know why, my dear brothers and sisters? Because when you reach our age, when you get older, you need to go back with your memories to those memories, and you will love it. That's how you are going to keep love in your marriage until the last day. Honeymoon. The third factor is about the mental and psychosocial factors. These are important factors too. They say always it's all in your head. That's very true. Most of our sexual problems come from our head, not from our genitals, our body, no. So you need your head to be good, okay? 7 mental players here. Love versus infatuation. What's the difference between love and infatuation? Infatuation is about focusing on the flesh, on the physical aspect only. No, please. Remember, when you get married to a person, not to a body only. A whole person. So keep that in mind. Number 2, fatigue and stress. Please, fight fatigue, fight stress. You know what stress hormones may do to you? Stress hormones, when they are high in your blood body, they inhibit your sexual desire. They may lead into some serious stuff like depression and anxiety, autoimmune diseases, etc., etc. So we need to be aware of the level of stress in our life. I'm not talking now about our honeymoon. I'm talking about our life. Fight stress, fight fatigue. If the time is not appropriate for you to make love to each other, go to sleep. Wake up in the middle of the night or early in the morning and make love. Try to play around it. Number 3, grief and depression. We just mentioned depression and grief. Yes, times of grief may be tough. Where the grief of loss, of death, or anything about that. Like losing your job, for example, sometimes it keeps us depressed a little bit. Frustration and anger. Do you expect to become angry at each other at one point or the other? What do you think? Can we live without being angry or frustrated at each other? No, we can't. But we can make peace and make love before we go to sleep. This is an art. This is a skill. And you need to learn how to do it. You know why? Because this is about reality of love. We cannot live with each other, and since we are so different from each other, without at one point arguing. I don't mean fighting physical, no, but sometimes we do that. Yeah. Lose temper sometimes, that's okay, no problem. However, the Bible says that be angry, but let not anger or let not sunset on your anger. Before sunset, you make peace and you make love. And your kids in the future will see that and say, wow, Dad and Mom were arguing and were raising voices, and we expected that would be the end of all days. However, now they are embracing each other, kissing each other, and they are doing very well. They are in love. So, please. Boredom. Boredom is like rust. And please play around it. When you keep working on your marriage all the time, honeymooning every year, anniversaries, whenever you have a chance, every now and then you take a weekend together away from everybody and enjoy it together. If you can hire a babysitter for a day or so, etc., etc. But you need to keep your marriage fresh and young all your life. Number 6, general health, of course, is very important. And by the way, there's something new. Many of us, especially young men, and some ladies too, may have some low levels of male hormone. That's why, anybody is a physician here? Yeah, thank you. Don't you ask for testosterone and hormones, thyroid hormones, etc. It's very important. Check on those hormones. Plus, guess what? Many Egyptians don't know that they have low vitamin D level in their blood. When your vitamin D level is low, you suffer sexually, or you feel depressed. You are in the black mood. General health, and the last one is children at home. We said no children will keep us away from each other, period. Number 4, the spiritual factors or the religious factors. These are the rings, the covenant rings, okay? You take them in church. But the Bible talks about marital and about sexuality in marriage in a very plain and clear way. How does the Bible view intimacy and our sexual life in marriage? 7 players here. No, to the pure, all things are pure. Number 2, the marriage bed is undefiled. Number 3, submit to one another. Number 4, render due affection to each other. Number 5, have no authority over your own body. And number 6, do not deprive one another except, and number 7, except for a time and come together again. Let us look into those verses. The first one, all things are pure. Can you read these verses? Titus 1:15. To the pure, all things are pure. What does this mean? It means that sex is pure in marriage. There's no shame, no guilt, period. Okay? All things are pure for the pure. But if I am not pure inside, then I will see everything as defiled or impure. Number 2, the undefiled marital bed. Here it says in Hebrews, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled. Hebrews 13:4. So the marital bed should be kept pure. No one is allowed to share this marital bed. Actually, I was talking yesterday in another church about how to keep your master bedroom locked. Locked. Here it means that my intimate life with my spouse should never be shared by anyone else. It's nobody's business. It's something between me, my spouse, and God. You know how you let people into your master bedroom? You let them in when you're not realizing the significance of keeping your master bedroom locked. Whether talking about your children, your parents, your relatives, your anybody else. I'm not saying about the physical locking of your bedroom. I'm saying about your intimate life. The only people that you can let them know if you have a problem or a question. And in such case, you need to talk to someone that you trust. Not to anybody. You have to trust the person. Okay? It's very important. Submission in love. Submitting to one another in the fear of God. Wives, submit to your husbands. During your wedding ceremony, you will hear Abuna saying those verses to you. You need to submit to each other. Because this is God's desire. God would be pleased to see you submitting yourself to each other. It's very important. Then fulfill each other's needs. Let the husband render to his wife the affection. Can you see here? It started with who? With the wives. With husbands, need to do your job towards your wives first. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due to her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. And then the other verse, which is similar but in a different way, the wife does not have authority over her own body. Yes, a wife needs affection, but a husband needs physical pleasure. Okay? So the wife has no authority over her body, but to her husband. And still it's the same. Husbands does not have authority over their bodies, but to their wives. Number 6, do not deprive each other. Do not deprive one another except with consent. And this is a very, very extremely important and critical rule that would regulate your relationship together. You cannot deprive each other the right. A wife cannot deprive her husband his right. A husband cannot deprive his wife's right for intimacy. So we need to be ready. Okay? Except with consent. Why with consent? Because when I need to make love to my spouse, and my spouse, for example, wants to spend time with God, prayer, fasting, but I am in need, should she submit to me? Should he submit to me? Yes. Because this is the rule, that both of us need to have that consent. And the rule says that the stronger submits to the weaker, lest the weaker would get tempted or fall into temptation. And that's how it will continue. The verse 6 there. Do not deprive, same verse, one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Can you see the significance of that? That's why we need to communicate together our needs and be open about that. No shame, no guilt. For a time, when we abstain for a time, for fasting or prayer, whatever, want to have communion, for example, I think, but this is with consent and for a time. Then you come together. Okay. Then final notes here, important quotations or questions. Love versus lust. We'll go through that quickly a little bit because of the time. Why it's not lust? Where is lust here? Lust has been redeemed or removed from the picture because it was replaced with what? With love. Love redeems lust. That's the difference. Lust is about focusing on the flesh only. Love is about focusing on the entire person. In holy matrimony, desire plus love equal functional and pleasurable marriage. So you invest more in love. Next, 4 healthy sexuality aspects. Healthy education. Please look into Christian resources. Number 2, and I'll give you one of those resources at the end. Of course, Abuna knows that. Understanding yourself and your needs. Be in touch with your feelings, what you need, so that you can express those needs clearly. And number 3, understanding your other's need, your spouse's need. And be sensitive to each other. You don't have to wait until your spouse would beg. Sometimes I hear that word, beg for intimacy. No, it's not appropriate. Once you feel that your husband or your wife needs you, please be sensitive to that. And number 4, last one, communicate. More tips. Tolerate the differences. We are different. We don't get married to our sisters or brothers. We come from different backgrounds, different sets of beliefs, different sets of experiences, different sets of expectations. I am getting married to the different. That's why I need to prepare myself for that. Okay? It's very important. Okay? Tolerate the differences. Number 2, bear with limitations. Yes, we have limitations. Our husbands and wives will have some limitations. We talked about fatigue. For the wife, for example, she may go through the period and fluctuations of hormones, progesterone, it changes its level in the blood all the time. And that can change her mood, her desire, sometimes up, sometimes down. We need to be sensitive to that. Okay? Bear with limitations. Number 3, look beautiful. Look attractive to each other. Number 4, overcome shyness, please. I don't want to hear somebody coming and say he doesn't want to sleep unless he's in his pajamas. Or she doesn't want to undress. Yeah, in the beginning there may be some shyness, but we need to overcome that slowly but surely. After that, personal hygiene, shower, mouthwash, yes please. Believe it or not, I hear it sometimes. He doesn't shower except every other week, for example. Or she smells or something like, sorry for that, but these are things that can be so embarrassing, so inhibiting to make love. So please be careful of personal hygiene, shower and mouthwash, etc. Get rid of boredom, anniversaries, vacationing. Then remember not to violate God's laws of healthy sexual behavior and self-control. Yes. That's why sometimes we need to dedicate time for prayer, for church, for fasting, etc. Sometimes. Okay? Self-control is important here. Healthy behavior, because the world is so tempting outside. Avoid sexual perversions and other compulsive sexual behaviors. Everybody talk now these days about porn, about anal sex, about violent sex, sadomasochism, fetishism. I hear all that all the time. Why shouldn't we do it according to God's plan and purpose? The natural way. the natural way. We lose interest in the natural way, you know why? Because we got used before to the other stuff. That's why in marriage, before we go into the sacrament of holy matrimony, we need to do another sacrament, to undergo the sacrament of repentance, confession, and communion. It's a new life. You shall turn over that old page. It's not like the life you used to live when you were single. Even if there were some mistakes, fallouts, weaknesses, no problem. God, our God, is so merciful, so forgiving. And He's giving you today a chance to live a new life according to Him, to His commandments. Take advantage of that, please. Then, to beware of the worldly tricks. You will never feel gratified when you start using them. You will always ask for more. That's about sex addiction. One of the growing concerns among, by the way, my job or my specialty, I am an addiction specialist. That's my area of specialty, to treat addiction. And I see how many cases of sex addiction coming every other day. So please, you will have that kind of covenant with God, with your spouse. You are going to live it the right way, to take it the right way according to God. Common concerns: who initiates love making? Anyone? How I respond if I'm not ready? Just be ready anytime if possible. Anything like asking too much? There is nothing called asking too much, as long as both of you are in agreement about that. How do I deal with loss of interest? Just try to know why you're losing interest. There's something wrong going on, and fix that. And number 5, how can I overcome shyness? The best way to overcome shyness is to believe in the purity of sex in marriage. If you have that kind of belief, you would love it, you would enjoy it. You won't feel any guilt or any shyness at all. So as much as we are close to God and to the Bible, we are going to adopt that kind of belief in our life. Number 6, restrictions, positions, versus. These are things that you need to agree about. It's nobody's business but your own business together. And the last one, who can answer my questions? Someone you can trust, whether it's a Abuna, it's a professional, counselor, somebody who can you trust. And number 2, who has an answer for you, not going to give you just an advice without having any basis. Finally, avoid curious intruders or outsiders. Some people are, especially your parents, may come and ask you, why don't you have children? Is everything good with you? Is your husband doing his job, or your wife does, etc., etc.? Nobody's business. When they ask you such questions, you say, I'm sorry, these are very private things. I cannot talk to anybody with all respect. Whether the answer is coming from